The Last of Us finale seems to have been as divisive as Bella Ramsey predicted. On TikTok and YouTube, I've seen a lot of videos talking about Joel and Marlene's actions and debating who's right and who's wrong.
I'm the only one who understands.
This is the power of television and cinema. However, it seems a lot of people are getting lost in the weeds with this one, so let me clear a few things up for you. If you go down a rabbit hole talking about the competency of the doctors and the distribution chain for the vaccine, or the actual ability to make the vaccine, you are missing the point. This is a really simple thought experiment, closely related to the trolley problem, which I'm sure you've all heard of. Actually, it's more of an organ problem plus a modified trolley problem, but we'll get to that. Its roots date back even further to Immanuel Kant. The technical term for this debate is utilitarianism versus deontology. Utilitarianism states the end result of actions are all that matter, and therefore the correct action is one that has the greatest overall good on the largest amount of people. Deontology, on the other hand, is more complex. It boils down to the notion that you cannot add people together and weigh their suffering against the suffering of just one person. Kant famously said, "Better the whole people should perish than injustice be done," which is very apt for this discussion. Marlene represents utilitarianism. This is much easier to understand since utilitarianism often comes down to basic arithmetic. It's pretty obvious to see the shortcomings of this school of thought. There is almost no accounting for the individual's rights. It's all
about the greater good.
Based on her calculation, Marlene determines that sacrificing one person to save the human race is justified, and yet she is upset by this, showing despite having these beliefs, it's sometimes still hard to do the right thing. Joel, on the other hand, represents the deontologists, at least initially. Joel doesn't think it's right or fair to weigh the entire world's suffering against the life of Ellie. Now, for people new to philosophy, this is sometimes a hard concept to understand, but maybe John Torek can help. He famously argued that it is a mistake to assume harms to people stack up, since each person in that group are only suffering the amount of one individual. There is no one person or entity suffering more than the harm you would do to another single individual. This is one of the common ways deontologists argue against the measuring and summation of suffering or good. Kant backs this up with a statement, "To live ethically, one must never treat another human being as a means to some greater end." As far as Joel, Torek, and Kant are concerned, Marlene is in the wrong. This in itself would be a satisfactory conclusion to philosophers, since it quite accurately depicts these juxtaposed ideas. However, The Last of Us has a twist. Joel decides to embrace his egoism, which is when your own needs dictate what is right and wrong. It's pretty obvious to see the problem with this idea. Nevertheless, it seems to be a very common mindset in the apocalypse. In fact, Joel has admitted to embracing it in the past. Joel was probably never a deontologist, rather the common thought experiment hid his true motivations. Joel believes it is better to save Ellie, selfishly, no matter the cost. I say selfishly here because in this moment, there is no justification from a deontology or utilitarianism perspective that would allow Joel to be in the right. One other interesting note, Joel doesn't seem to have the same pause in his actions that Marlene does, which is also reinforcing his egoism-rooted decision. Because in egoism, we put the individual at the top and bring everyone else down to simple means to an end. Even Ellie is just a means to an end for Joel. It's important to distinguish the two philosophical problems at hand, the first being a classic organ problem, or trolley problem with a fat man if you prefer. The second being egoism and its limitations. Where do you stand on this debate? Leave a comment down below. We do read them and reply, so please like, comment, and subscribe.